I call this meeting to order. This meeting of USD 49 Board of Education for January 11th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. We have 6 board members here tonight. Board member Tammy Wellbrock is unable to attend this evening. We wish Tammy and her family the best at this time. Okay, first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Tonight's agenda is posted on board docs, a link for which is on the USD 49 website. I'll go ahead and make a motion. I move to accept the agenda as written. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion about the agenda? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. All in favor of the agenda, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Anybody abstaining? Hearing none, motion passes 6-0. Please vote electronically the same way. All right, the next item is the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes board meeting minutes from December 14th, 2020, financials, personnel transactions, the ECC Director's Report, and that's it. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. I hear a motion.
Second.
Thank you. A motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and call for a vote. Oh, wait, no. I have a couple things. We have 2 retirements I want to mention. Tony Lermeyer, and Diane Moorhead. Tony has provided 13 years of service to the USD 49 as a library media specialist, and Diane has provided 15 years of service to our district as a school nurse. Thank you both for your service and your contribution to the district. On a side note, Tony, I believe, attended my first of 6 coffee with the board president, which I attempted to do about 2 years ago. In fact, she was my only attendee, except my daughter, Grace, who showed up twice because she felt sorry for me. Okay. Also, we have 21 new hires as of December 21, 2020. Okay, all in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, motion passes 6-0. Please vote electronically the same way. Wow, moving right through this stuff. All right, third item on the agenda is the presentation from Lincoln. This is part of our continuing series of building reports and presentations. And we are pleased to have Carrie Lacey, principal of Lincoln Elementary, and anybody else? Nope. With us tonight. So it's all yours.
All right, well, I'm glad to be here. Hopefully you can hear me through my mask. I've never, ever really needed a microphone until this happened. So I'm just going to share a couple of things. Before I start my PowerPoint, though, I have been kind of serving as the principal of the PCR, the Parent Choice Remote, and at the elementary level. I wanted to say we started the year with 108 students in our Parent Choice Remote, and as of today, we are at 49. We had 15 new students come back to Lincoln last week. Most of the students who are have chosen the Parent Choice Remote that are coming back to Lincoln. Even if we are not their school of choice because of our numbers, we're smaller, it's easier to social distance. And I have to say they're doing a great job, and we're super excited to have them back at school with us. Wow. And the kids are excited. So I just wanted to kind of give you an update on the Parent Choice Remote really quick because it has changed dramatically since the first of the year. So Lincoln Elementary, you'll see here, I'm going to talk about the empower students to persevere and future ready every student every day. I'm going to talk about that here in just a minute. Okay, Jess, no work. She's blocking me because I told her, I said, if I sit back here and click this button, will it change everything you're doing on your computer? Okay, so first of all, I'm going to start with COVID-19. What have we learned? We have learned that it takes a village. And I just wanted to take a minute to publicly thank, first of all, our custodians, teachers, parents, students, office staff, paraprofessionals, our after-school staff, nutrition staff, transportation, you as the Board of Education, nurses, central admin, classroom aides, our local health authorities, and so many more. And I have to say, this is something this is my 30th year. Scary to say that, but my 30th year in education. And this has been one of the toughest, only because it's exhausting. I don't know if it's the mask, if it's the worry, and I think about my staff every day, and I just think, oh my goodness, you know, it's a tired like you've never felt tired before. And I bet you've probably heard that from others. It's hard to explain, but it really is. Especially the teachers. I was talking to the 5th grade class today. I was in their classroom for a minute, and they were all kind of snickering, and I'm standing in the front of the room, and I'm like, what? And they're going, your mask is upside down. Oh, okay. So, but talking through the mask, it's a different experience, but also just the worry and all of that from every day. So I wanted to take a minute and say, this is what we've learned. We've learned that we can survive. We learned that we are fighters. We've learned that we are tougher than we've ever thought before. So the big thing at Lincoln is the redesign. Craig thought I almost said Kennedy Middle School. Wow, that ages me. Where are we in the process? If you look at this, okay, Jess, it's like going crazy on me now. If you look at this is the timeline that the state has set forth, and we were a little bit behind because of COVID last spring, but we are now where we are building our rocket, and I'll explain that to you, but we are just starting where it says we're at the bottom of the November to December part, and I'll tell you how we got there. So we're building the launch pad. We had to first increase our knowledge of the 4 principles of redesign. Student success skills, family, business, and community partnerships, personalized learning, and the real-world application. These are the 4 principles of redesign, and we had to totally look at how does that fit into Lincoln? How does our staff fit in there? How incorporate our relationships with our parents and with our families? And so that's where we started. This is not a fast process. Also, they don't let you just jump in and start looking at what you think your school needs. The team, I have a pilot and a co-pilot, and then a couple of members of my staff on our team, and we meet once a month with the service center out of Salina, and then we also have a representative that meets here with us while we're meeting virtually with them, just to kind of be an on-site coordinator. And that group will take what we learned during that day, and we have to find a time for our staff to meet, and we present it to the staff, and then start to strategize what are we going to do. It's everyone's instinct to jump in and say, well, I know this, and I know this. But it really made us step back and look and see what is the root? What is our why? Why do we think that redesign is the way to go? Why do we think that our families and our students deserve this, and why do we think our staff deserves that? So this is the first thing we had to do, is look at those 4 places. We are designing our rocket. We surveyed our staff, our parents, and our students. A couple of things that I've listed here are some things that I thought were interesting. We have a bigger language barrier than we thought. We have a bigger language barrier with our parents. One thing that I was very happy about, our parents have very few complaints, which is really cool. But then again, it's also sometimes nice to have some of those complaints so you know what you really need to work on. You know what you need to focus on. if no one had anything to complain about, just think about how different everything would be for all of us. And I'm not saying please come and bring your complaints, but I'm saying we do need to hear your needs and we need to know what your concerns are. Parents would like for us to teach a foreign language. This is something that I didn't realize, but when we had our surveys, we probably had about 15 of them want us to teach a foreign language at our school. How can we fit that in? We can't fit that in now, but with our redesign process, we probably can. What's an awesome aspect of that is the number of bilingual students that I have. I'm not just talking about Spanish-speaking students, I'm talking about bilingual. I admire them. I think it is so cool, and that's one of my goals, and I'll probably be retired before I can figure out how to do this. But those students can talk to each other, talk to their parents, and share. It is so cool. But I didn't realize how many of our parents really wanted us to be able to communicate better. And so that was one of the things we learned. Our parents have a hard time helping their students at home. Number one, because of the language barrier of a lot of our students. The makeup of Lincoln is a lot different than the makeup of the other schools in our district. And we do have a lot of Spanish-speaking students. Our students feel safe at Lincoln, and our students feel that their teachers are there and available to help. So those are a couple of really awesome things too that our students said. So we're designing our rocket around some of the things that we learned in our survey. This process is staff-driven. It's not admin-driven. It's not central staff-driven. It's staff-driven, which for me, it's so cool to sit back and watch my staff work and not give them, you should do this or we should do this. It is a team effort, and that to me, I think is just, it's so cool to watch it happen and some of the questions that they're asking themselves. I actually was at a meeting here in the central office on Monday, and my staff took part of their work day to start thinking about some other things that we're doing with redesign. It does take extra hours, it does take extra work, and they are just doing a fantastic job. So this is where our vision, we have chosen our vision. Our vision is to empower students to persevere. Our why? Why? Because we want our students to be future ready, and we believe that every student, every day, we kind of tagged on to the district. But this is what we're building our redesign around. We have KISA goals, we have redesign goals, school improvement goals, we have all of these things that we have to design around and work them all together, put them all together. We also are working with the Kansas Learning Network, and we found out that everything works cohesively and those groups work very well together. Relationships, that's our big one. That's number one for Lincoln right now. We want to build relationships with our families. We want to build relationships with our community. When COVID is over, I can't wait to have community members come back in and start being part of our buildings again, presenting to our students again, sharing the knowledge that they have. There's so much knowledge to be had out in our community, and it's really hard for kids to understand that unless you can get them in front of it. And so I can't wait for that to happen. Some of the things that we're also focusing on is kindergarten readiness. Our graduation rate, which is not the Lincoln graduation rate, it's the graduation rate that happens as they move on to high school and then move on to college. How many of those students were Lincoln students? Something that we're focusing on. We want to look at that data and see, are we reaching students like we need to? Social emotional growth. This is bigger than ever before. Our kids have more social emotional needs than they ever have. And so that was part of the things that we wanted to focus on. Our students learn differently. They learn differently than they did 10 years ago, especially 30 years ago when I started. So we're looking at that. We're looking at building those relationships so when they walk in the building, I cannot expect someone to learn who hasn't had breakfast. I can't expect someone to learn who was worried about who's going to pick them up from school or where they're going to be tomorrow morning. And so they learn differently. We need to make sure that we're focusing on our social emotional growth and our students' needs. We have individual plans of study as a big part of redesign. We may have a kindergartner reading on a second grade level. Why are we keeping them in the kindergarten classroom? Sure, we can enhance their learning there, but what if we could put them with the second graders while they're doing their reading and moving our groups around? That's all part of redesign, and looking at our schedule and how can we put these groups together. I might have a first grader that really needs to have those beginning skills that they have in kindergarten. Put them into those groups and those centers and those groups. So redesign, to me, I was scared at first, and now I just can't wait. I can't wait to kick it off. I can't wait to get started and see what we can really do. So now what? We are now at the bottom of building our rocket, communicating with our stakeholders as part of what I'm doing tonight, talking with our families, getting everything that they need. Strategically plan for aligned budgetary decisions. That's something that I have to talk to Ron and you guys about at some point, but right now we are doing the best we can with what we have. And you know what? We're doing a bang-up job. The whole district, not just Lincoln, not just Redesign, but everyone, and especially this year. And then next March, this coming March actually, we start looking at how are we going to launch. What do we need to change in our schedules? How are we going to make that happen? What resources do we need? And then let's launch when the school year starts. After that, you just keep redesigning. You are never finished with your redesign. You just keep redesigning. Some things work, some things don't. Some things will work this year, and you know what? Next year it won't. So we're really excited to kick this off, and I can't wait until this time next year, and I'll just bring my staff in and let them present to you about what we're doing at Lincoln and what's really happening. I think it's so cool. Our other initiatives that we are doing at Lincoln, we are at the implementation of Second Step, which is the social emotional curriculum that the district has adopted. We started implementing that at Lincoln in October, along with Roosevelt and O'Laughlin. Wilson did a pilot last year, and so we are integrating that. The state MTSS initiative, all of the administrators in the district are being trained. We're starting to take things back to our staff members, and we are looking at implementing the MTSS system a little bit different than what we are and really utilizing it for what it's meant for. And then dyslexia training for all of our staff members will be trained in dyslexia. The dyslexia training, which will happen next Monday, the 18th, during our in-service day. So those are some other initiatives.
Carrie,
Yes.
can you explain what MTSS means?
Yes, multi-tiered systems of support. So it's different tiers for students and student learning. Kind of goes back to, I have like an intense group. We call those, our intense group is our red group. Those are the kids that really need some intense redirection and work with a certain, could be reading, might be math. And then we have what we call our yellow group, who are maintaining. We still want to get them better, so we're working, and might be a larger group that we work with. The intense group is like a 1 to 3. We're really trying to figure out how to have one staff member to 3 students, so we can give them those repetitions every minute and get them to where they're getting stronger. And then we have the green group, which is the group that's above. And how do we challenge them? How do we keep them moving forward, not just sitting there, yeah, they're doing great, let's give them an A. No, we need to challenge them. We need to move them forward and keep them moving forward. So that's what MTSS is. And it's been around for a really long time. The district has somewhat of an MTSS system going now. It needs to be refined, and so it'll be better. And we are all getting the training to make that happen. Some really cool things that happened. Holiday generosity. And I'll try to get through this without crying because this is so cool. I had a group of students from Fort Hays State that came to me and they said, we did a fundraiser and we want to donate. We have chosen Lincoln. I'm like, whoa, wow, what is this? And they had over $1,800, the Catholic Disciples at Fort Hays State University. No connection to the school district, no connection to any of the students. They just decided they were going to choose Lincoln Elementary. They had $1,800. They said, we want to buy gifts for the students. And I'm like, whoa, how do we do this? So I had a list of a lot of students, as you can imagine, $1,800 worth. I contacted the families. I said, I need your students' wants for Christmas. I compiled a list. I had to do 2 different shopping carts in Walmart because I didn't know that your electronic shopping cart had a limit. Who knew? But anyway, I put all of these gifts in a shopping cart. I printed off the shopping cart. I gave it to these college kids. They spent 4 hours at Walmart, bought every gift that we have on our list. They bought the family's wrapping paper. They bought the family's tags for their gifts. They brought them to Lincoln. I met them up there on a Saturday morning, delivered all of these gifts. I divided them into the families. I called the families, and they picked those gifts up without the kids knowing. It was so cool. So awesome. And so much fun to do. Like I said, something I had never experienced before, a group just coming and saying, hey, we want to do all the shopping. And the response that I got from the families and some of my emails, I should forward them to you. The responses that I got from them, it was just amazing. You changed our Christmas. You changed what we could do for our family. I didn't, but that group of kids at the Catholic Center at Fort Hays State, and I've asked them, and they may have forgotten, I may have to call them again, but I've asked them to give me a time where I can actually go to a mass and thank the parishioners, because it wasn't just the students, it was a fundraiser that they did through the Catholic Center. So that's
awesome.
So cool, yes. And then you'll look and see Kim and Jason Ball spearheaded, and I guess they do this every year. It started with with Wilson. They do this every year, and they have private donors that donate to a class. They adopt a class. Well, I got a phone call from one of the teachers at Wilson and said, we have an overwhelming response this year. We want to share. And I'm like, okay, that would be awesome. Kim and Jason were not the donators, but they spearheaded, they collected. A lot of these donators do not even want to be known. I don't know who they are, but oh my goodness. They delivered $2,100 in Dylan's gift cards. I was able to help over almost 80% of my families in some way at Christmas because of these two entities, which is just, it was so cool. I felt like Santa standing out there because I stand and I greet my students outside every morning. And the ones that I couldn't get a hold of or I couldn't see them, I ran their cards to their car in the morning, the last day. And they were like, oh, a Christmas card for Mrs. Lacey, that's really cool. And then when they got home and I got the emails, it was so cool. So I wanted to make sure that I let you know that this happened. We also have,
awesome.
Yes, very, very cool. We also have, our students are representing us at the Ellis County Spelling Bee, our 5th grade students, Dexter Sullivan, Dalton Schledler, and Banner Jones, our 4th grade students, Brooks Dixon, and then our alternate is Josiah Olmstead.
Carrie,
Yes.
I think that we ought to let these people know that the Board of Education is very thankful of their effort as well.
I will do that. Yes. Yeah, it's just amazing. So, and to not, and the group that Jason and Kim worked with, they're so selfless. I mean, we don't want to be thanked. We just want to know that the families were, helped. And how cool is that? How cool is that? All right, and what is a presentation without a few pictures? At the top, that's my staff working, and actually if I could zoom in on it, you would see that they're very tired. That was actually the last hour and a half of our parent-teacher conference night. Because our numbers were smaller, we didn't have as many scheduled conferences, and we used it for Redesign. tired teachers, but oh my goodness, it was so productive, and we had some really good things come out of that. The next 3 pictures, kindergarten is doing a play-based learning. And every Tuesday and Thursday for an hour and 10 minutes, one of our kindergarten classes is in our gym, and they're doing play-based learning. They run their own puppet show. The one little boy there with the banner up at the top, they are actually running a pumpkin patch. And you could go in and purchase pumpkins. They had a decorating station for Christmas. They decorated a Christmas tree. We had a pyramid built out of 200, I think it was like 250 Dixie cup or red Solo cups, only they were green. And, so the groups would try and build and see how high they could get. So the play-based learning is really cool. On the right, or my right up there in the corner, I try, and down here on the left, I try to, once a month, I just call up, it's a total surprise, ask teachers to send me a couple of students who are doing a really bang-up job in their classroom, and we make phone calls to parents. Those parents that you always have to, it cracks me up because I'm, hi, this is Carrie Lacey from Lincoln Elementary. No one is sick and no one's in trouble. And they're like, oh, good. So those are just a couple of the students that won awards, and Fort Hays State donated a ton of t-shirts to all the elementary schools at the beginning of the year. And I'm using those as a prize when I have those students come down. They're all mediums, so every child in the district probably has a really nice Fort Hays State nightgown. So it's pretty cool. We had a special visitor at Christmas time. That's what the next 2 pictures there are for. And all I can say about that visitor is that I know that she had over 18,000 steps that day. Here's some more play-based learning. And then this is a kindness quilt. And if you visit my building right now, you will see this kindness quilt hanging outside of our office. We did families. Last year, every other Friday, we met for 30 minutes in our family groups, and it was a mixed group of all classes together. And we can't do that this year. We can't mix the grades, and so what we're doing is just some things within their classrooms instead. And this was one of the projects that they came up with. We wanted to do a kindness quilt, and all of those little squares have something on it, some message about being kind. So, and that's it in a nutshell. Any questions?
Very good. First of all, thank you for your great presentation.
Thank
Very
you.
excited
Awesome.
to hear about what's going on, and you're right. It almost makes you tear up, some of the things that people are doing.
Absolutely. All right.
Any more comments from folks?
Thank you very much.
Thank
As
you.
you go through the process, I know you visit a lot with the other elementary principals. Is there some encouragement for other schools to get in on the redesign, other schools? I know it's a lot of work.
I say yes, but you do it first. Let's see what happens, and that's okay. That's, when Mr. Wilson and I talked at the beginning of this whole process, that was something that we talked about, was I want people to come to Lincoln and say, whoa, we got to do this. We got to do this. And that's my goal, and that's our intent with Lincoln is, how can we best help every student every day? And looking at the needs of our students, I'm not the only school that has needy students. Oh my goodness, we all have needy students. Every school, the high school, the middle school, the private schools, everybody, our families are needy. And they learn differently. And so I am so excited to see how this whole redesign process changes the way that we do learning at Lincoln.
Wow.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much for your
Yes, thank
work
you.
also
you.
in this.
Yes, thank you very much, Carrie. Before I move on to the next item, which is the superintendent's communication, I forgot to thank whoever it was that brought these treats to us. Jess, is that you? I don't know.
Very nice.
And I decided I probably should not eat it while we're having a meeting because it'd be too loud. So.
Actually, that was what the intent was. You could be munching. That's what I'd be doing.
They could make it interesting.
Yeah, crunch, crunch, crunch right in those mics.
Yeah, right.
Down on that discussion.
Okay, we do have reports, and now we'll hear from Superintendent Wilson. Looks like we have some new courses planned for Hayes High School next year, as well as a lot of other things going on. So, Ron?
Okay, yeah, I've got a list of things that I want to cover. And first of all, just to throw in, it's really just to plug, once again, a lot of great things going on in our district, and that's what the great thing about what we get to do with these work-study sessions is highlight, give everyone an opportunity to highlight the great things. So it's very obvious that some great things are going on in Lincoln and will be going on in the future, so excited for that. Wanted to give you an update, a little bit about the vaccine as we have hit January. You know, we have begun the process in the district to, you know, survey our staff to find out, you know, how many staff are interested in the vaccine and maybe special situations, and just to kind of get some numbers lined up. So when we do have a vaccine available to for our staff, we'll be ready to go. Of course, that comes in phase 2 technically, and the state's still in phase 1. The information that I have, it's probably it's not real in depth, but we're being told that it probably most likely that the vaccine that we'll receive will be the Moderna vaccine, which we probably expected. Really still unsure when we will actually see. Once again, it's going to depend on supply and the dosage that is available at various times. We're hearing late winter, early spring. What that exactly means, you know, I can't. I would guess we're hopeful in March we would start to see something. You know, I think the thing is on the vaccine. You know, we're anyone who wants to take the vaccine. You know, will be you know, we encourage them. You know, and once again, it's not necessarily, sometimes I think it gets relayed that, well, you have to be older. You know, we want all staff to take the vaccine. And we're not requiring, I think that's the important thing, is we're not requiring any staff to take it. Although, you know, we are trying to send the message that, you know, the more people that get vaccinated, the quicker this whole period of our lives will be in the rearview mirror. So we're hopeful that people will consider that so we can get back to pre-COVID normal. So that's just some information on the vaccine I wanted to share. I did over Christmas, over break, we finalized the sale on Washington. I've included the settlement statement in with your documents tonight. You can look at that. Just a lot of signatures, a lot of back and forth. Appreciate Mike and his time and willingness to come up. It seems like I spent more time with Mike over my Christmas break than I did my family. That's really a joke, but thanks for that. There was some bid requests been sent out on Roosevelt HVAC. That was sent out right at the beginning of coming back from break, as well as the bids on the secured entrance for O'Laughlin. So you should be we'll be seeing some bids coming here soon. I think the O'Laughlin secured entrances bids will be open on the 19th, and then Roosevelt will be the 28th, and we'll have those bids for you to look at.
Okay.
I think, I don't know how much you're aware, but there was a second round of stimulus funds for schools as well. So we just heard, we're on a webinar last week with the state, and we got some information about our funds. These are called the ESSER funds. I think we've referred to them as CARES funds, but ESSER is actually elementary and secondary emergency relief funds. And this is just going to give us some more dollars that we'll look to address some of our needs in the district that are due to COVID-related what's gone on. Really don't have any specific details about what we're going to use those funds with. The good news is this round we're going to be able to. We have until 2023 end of 2023. So there's no hurry, no rush, and we'll do some needs assessments. We've had a lot of conversations already, and probably spent it several times, different ways. But we'll definitely take our time and not rush into spinning that. But we'll definitely let the board know what we're doing with it and when we do things with it. Also, if you remembered, I think it was, and I shared this at a previous meeting, the state board approved for school districts to apply for a waiver to use up to 20 hours for professional development time, and that will help, and that will still count as school time, school hours, and help us meet our 1,116 hour requirement. We have been in discussion, and we are tentatively looking at probably a day in February, and very likely it could be that President's Day as a day for in-service. But we still have to we have to have some conversations. What we would like to do is as we're talking about MTSS, and that's one of our initiatives. We need to do some training with staff, and if things line out one of those days in that week, we'll be doing some training. So just wanted to make the board aware that we will possibly be altering the calendar, but we want to get that in. I just wanted to make you guys aware, and then we'll be getting that out to parents as a in-service day.
Okay. And we need to approve those changes?
Well, technically, I'm just going to make you, if that's all right, I'd just like to make you aware that we'd like to make that an in-service day, and then we can get that information out to parents, and so they have time to make preparations. Is that all right?
Yeah, it's fine with me. As long as we don't legally have to
No.
approve the calendar.
No, I mean, we're not changing the end date or the beginning date, so.
Good.
I also wanted to share I think once again, our middle school, Mr. Albert shared some information with that I thought was really good. Our 7th and 8th grade girls basketball teams and our HMS wrestling teams had some success in the first part of what we call the winter season for middle school. 7th grade A and B teams and 8th grade A and B teams were league champions, which is really impressive. And our wrestling team finished 3rd, so congratulations to them. Also included are some new courses that are being considered for at the high school. Those are included in your packet of information. There's 3 classes that are being considered. The civic leadership class. I think it's just a class to help students enhance their leadership skills and becoming better civic leaders in our community. There is an AP chemistry class. This is just a continuation of the first year chemistry, and it is recommended by the State Board of Regents. And I think this class has been in the high school for a while, or it was. They didn't have an instructor. Now we currently have an instructor that can teach this, and so I'd like to bring that back, and AP Human Geography, and just the explanation there in terms of just exploring how humans have understood and used and changed the surface of the earth. So those are 3 classes being considered and proposed. So just wanted to make the board aware of that as well.
Do they have the staff to be able to add these, or will we need to look at additional staff?
No, all staff is currently on board, and there's no need to add any staff.
Good.
And they'll be offered in their course guide, which comes out soon. They'll start doing the pre-enrollment, so it will depend on how many are interested as to whether they offer it or
Of course.
not. But
Right. Okay.
I need to make you aware.
Very good.
And I guess last is just that January is recognized as Board Appreciation Month, and so you have some popcorn there on your desk, and really I just want to take time to say really appreciate all members of our board. We have a great school board who are really committed to kids and committed to every student every day. Really appreciate the work that you put in, the time, the dedication, and the things that you do. It's been said before, but I'll say it again. The pay's not great, but the reward is priceless. So
Pay us
thanks
in
so
popcorn.
much for all your efforts. So,
Well, Ron, thank you very much for that. And I guess I stepped on the announcement. Why?
no, you're fine.
Okay.
You're fine.
No, we appreciate that. And I think we're all very happy to serve.
Yeah, very happy.
All right. So moving
I
on
just
to-
wanted
Oh,
to,
go ahead.
you commented about the bids that are going out. I talked to Renee the day the bids for the Roosevelt HVAC system went out. I was amazed looking through that. It was, the bid, I believe, consisted of 386 pages.
Yeah, it's pretty in-depth.
So it is a
Yeah.
big.
Pretty big deal.
And what is, you said you're opening it on the 28th? of
28th at 1
January,
p.m., I believe.
Will the engineer or Rusty or you bring that back?
Sure. What's going to happen on the 28th is those bids will be opened. And then once all the bids are open and we compile all the information, we will send that to our engineer, Dwayne Vaughn. And what he'll put all those bids, and he'll look at, make sure that all the bidders have met all the criteria. He'll put together a report, and then that will be brought back to you, and you'll have a bid to look at on that first meeting in February, whatever that date is in February, at the work study session on the bids. And then, you know, we can improve, or we can, you know, have more discussion, and then we'll be ready to roll. So,
It'll take quite a bit of time just to go through those 383 pages of bid.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The good thing is those people, it's really amazing. Having been through this process several times, they know what to look for, and they know what they're doing, and so to us it seems really 300 pages are overwhelming. They can condense that down and really refine and know what they're looking for.
Good question. Great question. It's always nice to get a refresher on how the,
Ron, what was the
Process
total
works.
that was that the bottom line at the bottom of what Washington was brought?
Yeah, I
to
believe it
district?
was 495,000. I can open it up here.
495,
There's a lot of information on this. Is Bill the person to talk to kind of get the explanation of all this, or you? Or
Sure,
who?
I ran it by Bill before we closed on the property. Bill looked at the settlement statement. I think really there was really only two fees, just the settlement charges to the seller and then the extension fee. Those are the only two, I believe. So.
So
Yeah,
if I
Bill
have
would be the one.
questions-
Bill would be the one to respond to that, not
questions?
necessarily me.
Okay, I'll just give him a call in.
I relied on Bill on that. So, and thanks to Bill also for being available during over Christmas break, because I had to catch him several times.
And
Thank
you've
you.
got the Learning Center moved out over.
Oh yeah, and I'm
break.
sorry, I did want to.
How
I
are
did.
they doing?
Yeah, the Learning Center. Learning Center is down at Hadley Center. It's been quite a process. Hats off to our custodial staff here at Rockwell who helped move them, and as well as Olivia and Sandra Hickert, who are staff at the Learning Center. They have, it was a heap of stuff that was piled in there prior to Christmas. I looked and I thought, oh, well, I know they'll make it work, but I don't know how. I went back in there on the first day back, and it was kind of like that extreme makeover day where you see the before and then you see the after, and you're just like, man, I can't even believe I'm sitting in the. We definitely at some point got to get the board down there just to see. It's a much better space than I ever would have imagined, and really has got a lot of intangibles that are going to make it a great space for those kids. So I actually talked to the kids too, and they're really excited. about their space, so. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Craig. I'm sorry I forgot that.
Okay, any other comments or questions for Ron before we move on?
I have a comment that maybe is even out of turn or whatever, that may not even have anything to do with anything, but your class that you're offering, the civics class.
Okay.
I used to teach a class called Diversity in the United States, which is kind of similar to that. The kids would come in and they had no knowledge whatsoever because they had never been taught anything like that in high school. And it's kind of like a civics kind of a class.
Sure.
I was wondering if maybe the person that's going to be putting that class together can get a copy of the book at least, and maybe integrate some of those concepts into that class. Is that a possibility?
Sure, we can definitely share
Okay.
that
I'll reach
information.
out to you and get that information, then I'll pass it along to the teacher who'll be teaching it.
That would be great.
Yeah, it really, it's, they're looking at that, it'll be an app, you have to apply to be in that class, and then they'll have to be interviewed and kind of look at it, seniors, looking for seniors. But, yeah, I'm sure she'd be open to looking at whatever resources as it's put together.
Okay,
Yeah,
good. That's excellent information.
okay, super, thank you.
Okay.
Very good, thanks, Lori. All right, let's move on to discussion items. We have 3 tonight. We have updates to the board policy manual, basically, secured entrance at Wilson Elementary, and an overview of current and potential capital outlay projects for the next 5 years or so. Ron, I'll turn it back over to you again.
Okay, first of all, I apologize in advance. Policy is never the most fun thing to go over, but have several policies. Just going to run in front of the board. Once again, this is not for any action. This is just
Right.
first read, and we'll bring them back to the board after discussion at the next meeting. The first one is policy BCBD. That is the policy that we visited about last board meeting, just about our board agenda. Basically, I've given you a recommendation that the agenda will be sent to all board members at least 3 calendar days prior to any regular board meeting. Doesn't necessarily mean that we would not send it before. It's just that was in kind of what is kind of a normal standard calendar for all school districts. Just bringing that to the board as a recommendation. The other policies are policies that have been recommended and updated by KSB. And the first one is policy EBBD, and that is evacuations and emergencies. And basically all that is doing, these are all fairly minor revisions to the policies, but this policy just adds the statement health or safety concerns to the current list of reasons the superintendent may announce a school closing. So there's more than just, a snowstorm or a tornado or a bad situation, a crisis in the community or something. They're just, as we've dealt with COVID, they've realized, okay, that is probably something we should have in policy. Policy GAR is a communicable disease policy, and it's just updated to include that the local health officer will be used to determine whether a staff member is no longer contagious. It's just putting that, as we've dealt with COVID, that's being recommended by KSB. And also that health officer will help determine when that staff member may return after a communicable disease.
Ron, it's the local health officer, not the health department.
Yeah, it says that's what KSB is recommending is the designation local health officer.
Because I know some health officers are medical doctors from a lot of the health.
Sure, and in a lot of small communities, they'll get the local doctor to be the health officer.
Even in Sedgwick County, at a large district.
Yeah. So it would be, Craig, these, and once again, these are recommended, this is recommended language from KSB. And once again, you're the local school board, and you can change that language however.
But it still says physician or the local health.
Sure.
Local health officer is appointed by the county commissioner.
Right.
So it could be a doctor, it could be the health department director, which is in Ellis County, adjacent county. So that's discretionary with the board of county commissioners. Which is why in some counties it is a medical doctor, in some counties it's just the health department director.
But this language is inclusive. Okay.
So it could be a physician or the
Yeah.
health officer.
Right. It's who's ever appointed by the county commissioner.
Policy JBE is just, it's the compulsory attendance form. This is if a student who is either 16 or 17 years old is asking to, drop out of school. There is a form that someone at the high school would work through with the student and the parents as just in a counseling session. The form really is not being changed in any way. It's just being reformatted and put into a different, it says basically the same thing, it's just a reformatting. And it also includes some more up-to-date earnings data. And when a student, of course, is considering dropping out, you share with them, you realize you're gonna earn what you learn, and if you get a high school diploma, you most likely will earn this much. If you get a post-secondary, you'll earn this much, and just some data there. So, no big change with that form other than it's just reformatted. The policy JGCA, this is a policy that originally was just called the wellness policy. Now they're adding the term health, and that's basically it. It's just a title change, and adding the term health and wellness into the policy. Policy JGCC. Once again, this is a communicable disease, but this deals with students. Any policy that is J is a student related. And this just, once again, adds that the local health officer will help determine if a student has a communicable disease and when a student can be readmitted to school. So this is just basically the same policy that deals with students. And then policy JHCAA. This is a gang policy. This is basically a title change again. It's very, very minor, but it's putting the emphasis on gang intimidation there as the title, as opposed to gang activity, and it's just basically it's reflecting that the language is too broad and just may target just certain racial or ethnic groups. So this really is going to focus on the intimidation tactics that are being used in our gang policy. So those are the policies. We can have if you have questions, we can definitely talk more. But not asking any action tonight. This is just will be brought back next meeting for approval.
So board members have 2 weeks to look them
Yeah.
over.
If you have any
We can
questions or
discuss them at the
anything,
time.
just get in touch.
Pass them all, pass not all, whatever. Okay, very good. Thanks, Ron, for that. Now we have the Wilson Elementary secured entrance issue.
Okay, last meeting, Craig mentioned that he would really like to see the Wilson Elementary secured entrance be prioritized in terms of some of our projects. Tonight, what I'm sharing with the board is 3 options that we have for Wilson. I will start with option 3, actually. And if you have that, everyone has that diagram?
Yep.
You're trying to get it to open. Okay, that's fine. Option 3, if you're looking at the drawing and if you're trying to get your spatial awareness, you are the bottom is as you are walking up into Wilson. So if you look at option 3, basically this is the cheapest option for a secured entrance, and this is putting 2 doors in the corridors, the hallway of Wilson. One on one side of the office, that's the green, and a door on the other side of the office. So basically, what that does not allow anyone to get into the classroom area without having to go through those doorways in that corridors. The problem that I see already is that although it does serve the purpose of a secured entrance, students travel through those doors, through that hallway, nonstop all day. So those doors constantly will be opening, and I don't really know how secure of an entrance that truly gives you. Option 2 is in the blue there. This option is looking at taking part of the music room. So that bottom rectangle piece it would be basically taking half of the music room, and that would be your entrance into the building. So there would be some kind of safety corridor there with doors. And how that's really being designed, we haven't really got specifics on that. The issue that I have right there, the biggest issue is that losing half of our music room really doesn't really solve anything. And it's not a good, and plus that other piece that kind of makes a little L there, that's I believe a conference room, and they utilize that for lots of things throughout the day. So we'd be losing 2 spaces there. The third option, option 1, it's the option that I considered that would be the best option for several reasons. Of course, this is building outside of the building. This would be, in a sense, adding on to Wilson. If you're familiar with Wilson, the office space at Wilson is really, really small, extremely small. This would be increasing our office space, giving some more room for our office staff, as well as all the people who come into that office on a daily basis, teachers and parents in a normal year. Just some space to maneuver. It also, I think, the beauty of the plan, if you'll look, directly behind where, right, that's the current office, that little where the 2 green lines run through. Right. That's the office space, the front office space.
Triangle.
And so you're going to see that, we're going to gain a lot more office space. But the thing is, the beauty of this plan is we also gain some space for other things that we need. We've got a lot of people shoved in a lot of little spaces that are sharing. It also gives us some opportunities for maybe some intervention classroom space should they need it, or they will need it at times. And so this. Oh, I didn't even know you were here, Anita.
I was thinking it would give us the opportunity to move speech away from the music class, gives us dedicated space for like a TPT, who we have a lot of the interventionists that are just floating, or counselors in the vault, to give her more room to work with groups, because right now we don't have any space to do that, where she's going into empty classrooms when teachers aren't holding class, which isn't ideal in COVID, but then you're part of resources with you. It would, still not a lot of space, but in a building that's tight on space anyway, it's a better option than taking space for the front of you. So, sorry.
No, that's fine. Yeah, Nita and I visited quite a bit about this. She saw we talked through every scenario. We really tried to be realistic about, is there a way? But each of the other 2 options, there's just too many disadvantages. So What I'd like to recommend is that we pursue option one as the secured entrance for Wilson. It would be, a great, as we just kind of build in that walkway space going up into Wilson on the outside and closing that in, and would just really give us some really valuable learning space, as well as just creating some much needed office space for Wilson.
Do you feel we could get any of this covered by grants or anything like that?
Well, the safe and secure grants that we have been able to, get some dollars throughout right now, I've not heard that they are continuing that grant cycle through the KSDE. They didn't do anything last year, and I have not heard that they're going to open that back up. Should they do, we would definitely apply, for sure. Chris and I have visited about this, and we'll be talking about this in our next agenda item on capital outlay. We feel that we can do this. We have several things in place that we feel like this, we have the ability to take care of this, and it does not put us in any kind of jeopardy in terms of overspending. This is a much needed thing, and it's been needed for a long, long time. I think it would be a great addition for Wilson to get some much needed space. So.
Well, the questions I always ask is, do we need it? And it sounds like we do.
Yes.
And can we afford it? And you just said we can. So those are two big ones. Lance had a good question about grant funding. Even if there isn't grant funding in this area, it'd be smart to look for grants in other areas.
Just to see if there's
Sure.
anything we can do to
Yeah,
help
we'll
offset the cost
We'll
a little
definitely
bit.
pursue anything that we feel like we can take advantage in terms of some dollars to help pay this off. Of course, these are all estimates. These are definitely not bid prices. This was just in visiting with the architect. It was just she has been to the site. She has walked the site, and feels fairly confident that. And I think we could even probably end up being a little less than what's on that sheet. But that's just an estimate.
Is it big enough? I mean, is there other needs that we, spend a little bit more to take care of another need at Wilson that's not just in the entrance? More conference room?
Yeah, I mean, that would be building out, starting to take away your driveway and your, I don't know. I think that's taking all the space all the way, out to the sidewalk.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we could use a gym, I mean, we need a gym, we need, yeah.
That's not a little bit more money.
It's a start and addresses some of the most immediate needs.
I like the idea. Maybe there's a way to squeeze in another conference room or something that you might need. I mean,
But we'll have that
something to think about.
office space that you're using now too, that will be transferred to something else.
Right, right.
Now, am I looking at it right?
The conference room that's right to the east of that addition.
The green lines, is that the nurse's station? That's not the office, correct?
The green lines were the first.
The triangle is the office.
Put the doors to keep.
But yes,
That's the nurses. I always,
Because the office is
scrolled up.
over there
Yeah, I'm
next to
sorry.
the library.
Yeah, they run
It's
the
back.
nurse.
Right.
Yeah.
The
Okay,
main office is across the hall.
Yeah, there it is.
yeah.
So it frees up that space.
Ron,
Well-
I appreciate you bringing this back to us. I think that it's a well-needed project, and bringing it up last month, I was just so concerned that all of our buildings should have this secure entrance. And I appreciate you finding a way that we can do all the schools, get this completed by this summer.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be my goal is that I still would like to, I mean, we're working on the Learning Center right now as far as creating a secured entrance. That's very minor. That's just doing some different locks. We're working on that, as well as we are also pursuing some things with West Side to complete that. So my goal would be to, by the end of this summer, is to have every building in our district complete with secured entrances. So
How much money was earmarked for them to have it secure? Did we have anything from the
for
last grant?
the Learning Center,
No, for Wilson. I mean, part of that $500,000 is, do we have that in foundation or something from?
no. We have, all the grants that we have received previously
Right.
were all earmarked for other projects. We don't have any grant dollars for this.
Okay.
And I don't believe we have any for Laughlin either.
There's some foundation money left.
Oh, foundation.
There is a little bit of foundation money left in our Gibson grant fund that was finishing up, because last year with our lock project, that ran through the end of the year because of COVID and our dealers. So there's some money sitting there, we came in a little bit under, so there's a little bit set aside from foundation still for secure entrance stuff, but not 500,000.
Now the secure entrance looks within like the high school.
Yeah, high school is complete.
Okay, so
All the other
it's-
buildings will
I think
be.
these are the only two schools left, isn't it?
Yeah. So this would be the most expensive one, but I think it merits that based upon just the needs
The needs, right?
at Wilson.
Okay.
Very good.
Now,
Do you know how many square feet that is?
No, Alan, I don't have any idea.
So
I
what do you
mean,
need from us?
basically, if you walk up, it's
Yeah,
just
I-
enclosing that walkway in.
Yeah.
So there's the walkway, and then off to the right,
There's a little side there.
there's like a
area.
little sitting area.
Yeah.
So it's, Anita and I were out there the other day, and it's quite a bit of space. It really is.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be really, really good.
Well, it would rectify, like right now, our office is one way in, and then you have to turn around, and it's one way out, so we're on top of each other. That you could enter and exit, you know, and there would be a back door in for teachers and a conference room to the back. It would address some of the issues that we already have just with the design of the office. So then that could really be repurposed for something that would make more sense there.
About 900.
Is it?
Initial, yeah.
Oh, you can see that?
Rough estimate was about 900
Okay,
when she first sent that stuff.
okay.
900 square feet?
Yeah.
what
So
I'm wondering
$500,000
is,
for, I mean, that, I think they're a little high. That
Well,
being
what
said.
you also have to remember, and this is the dilemma of small projects, and maybe that's my plug for later on when we get into capital outlay. There's always a small project escalation, about 20%. You pay 20% more when you start doing small projects
Right,
instead of just big projects, because as, contractors, they're pulling off jobs and they're taking your job to get it done, and so they're gonna
You can sometimes get more square footage
Yeah.
for about the same price
Yeah.
if you
Buy in bulk.
why,
get more.
why is that red line on the left-hand side, why is that not extended over to the building itself?
Well, I'm not sure exactly. Anita and I've talked about that, and I haven't talked to Jen. Again, this was a she threw this together very fast.
Okay.
There's a gas line.
There is a gas line there, but I think, as we've talked, I don't necessarily know if there's a reason why we can't move that,
Right.
I think it could be on the, we talked
yeah.
about, I think it could be moved to the roof.
Yeah.
And then, because it ties right into the boiler room, which
Yeah.
is directly adjacent to that.
Very similar to what we had to do at Roosevelt, I would imagine. But
Okay.
I don't, this will get, we'll have much more complete, in-depth drawings.
Sure,
I agree.
okay,
I
okay.
don't like having a little sliver of space.
Yeah, it makes it look like it's a weird little walkway. I just don't think that'll be the case.
Yeah.
What
yeah.
part of architecture fees,
I'm sorry, what?
is there certain percentages that we need, like for the architecture fees? That-
Oh, yeah, you'll pay a fee for an architect, yeah. The architect that I've visited with is the same architect that has been doing all of our secured entrances in terms for the district.
So we have, next couple of weeks, we'll review the information. And are you going to have more information to us next time?
Well, no, basically what I'm asking tonight is if the board is on board, we'll start pursuing this. And I visited with Jen last week. I mean, she didn't think it would be any issue as far as I would probably make a phone call to her, she'll probably have to come back out, I'd imagine, do some things, and get her to start doing some more in-depth work on this. And then, as the project goes, we'll be bringing that back to you.
Okay.
And most likely, like she indicated, that we would be bidding this in April, would be her goal, and then would be starting at the end of May.
I see no reason not to move forward with getting the information for us, so.
Yeah, you're not, there might be some dollars in terms of her work.
Right.
If you
Sure.
choose not to go ahead, but I think the thing is, I would just like, permission to say, hey, yeah, let's start drawing this up and seeing where we can go.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we have 2 nods hidden over here. We have me, Lance. Okay, thumbs up everywhere. Yes,
Okay.
please do. Please
I
proceed.
Thank
see no
you.
reason to be stagnant.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thanks, Ron.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, now we'll move on to capital outlay projects. And your PowerPoint.
Okay. I wanted to, tonight, begin some discussions a little bit about talking about our capital outlay, but also in terms of just where our district is in terms of, some things going on in our district. Quickly, if you jump to, as we go through this, this is something we'll probably make a normal part of our January work study session in terms of we'll be bringing some capital outlay projects just in terms of what we're planning, and just so the board is informed and aware of where we think we're heading. I would like to the objectives of this is just so we can help identify some short-term and long-term capital outlay projects. Of course, as you go through the year, there's some things that need to happen, are just very short, some are long-term. Helping us make some decisions on funding capital outlay projects, determining what projects need prioritized, and we went through some process to determine what needs to be prioritized. Consideration of what projects need general maintenance, and just review what projects need upgraded and plan for improvements. So those are our objectives to go through this. The next slide, real quickly, this is, I don't know if there's really any, true data that I have to support this other than I just sat down with Rusty and I said, I broke all these areas down and I said, can you tell me where our district's at? And just rank them high, medium to low. The one thing I really do want you to focus on is if you look at our HVAC and our plumbing, really those are the 2 biggest issues in our district right now in terms of where we're at with our facilities and dollars that we need to probably put attention to.
Those are the least expensive, right?
Yeah, they're the cheapest, yeah. But there's some other areas too, and the thing is also I want to highlight that, that's one of the great things is we've done a lot of work. We've not just stood, it's not all red.
Yeah.
And we've done a lot of work by being very sensible about our dollars. Of course, the green are low attention, and a lot of those are because we have put dollars towards, maintenance and upgrading and improving those areas, as well as the yellow is some areas that we are, we do need to pay attention to sooner rather than later. Okay. So I put that together for you so you had an idea. I don't necessarily know if this next slide has anything to do with capital outlay, but I did want to just bring attention to our district enrollment numbers. Our capital outlay dollars have nothing to do with our enrollment numbers, but it does show a picture that, we're going to have students in our buildings. We have had students in our buildings, and we will have students in our buildings. I put the projected numbers on the right side. This is information that is I've pulled off of KSB, just some projected numbers. They look at birth rates in the county, as well as just some historical data to project those numbers. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be spot on, but it does show that our buildings are going to have a lot of students in them, just like we've had a lot of students over quite a few years. So some things we need to address. Capital outlay, these are the dollars that we have for our district. If you look at cash reserve, this is what our district has in capital outlay dollars in terms of fiscal year 18, 19, 20, and 21. You can see as of July 1, our district had in capital outlay 2.7 million in capital outlay. Our average, usually we're right around 2.99 million. That'll go up or down depending upon what you're doing, projects you're utilizing. The revenue is what we generate each year with the mills, the 8 mills that the board assesses. And if you can see that last year in fiscal year 21, we generated 2.8 million. If you'll notice, that is a little lower. That is due to assessed valuation dropping a little in Ellis County. Of course, that had a lot to do with our oil. But as I've kind of been, I think we'll see that that will rise, and we should see a little rebound from that, I would guess. So if you put those two together, cash reserve and our revenue, you can see what we actually have available. When Chris does the budget, usually that's somewhat in terms of what he budgets, that we do have the authority to spend each year. We normally do not spend that amount, but we do budget for it just in case we should choose to do some projects.
Right.
And then just what we spend each year. If you'll notice, just basically at the bottom, that our average, we spend right around 3.1 million each year in capital outlay. And that's just to keep everything going. We have included some just recurring capital outlay cost. If you can look at this list, these are things that they happen every year. The bus and auto replacement rotation, the transportation, that is basically the transportation budget, $330,000. Central services, our HVAC maintenance and repair, just what we use just to repair our HVAC systems every year, about $45,000. Of course, we replace kitchen equipment each year so we can stay current. Was spending about $60,000. We've been our district's been working on an LED lighting conversion. We have gotten quite far. We're not too far from having our entire district converted to LED, but we put about $15,000 in every year. Of course, every parking lots, that's going in and just doing some patchwork. That's not getting a new parking lot by any means. Instructional equipment projects, we give the principals amounts of building capital outlay that they can spend on things that happen inside their building, equipment, instructional items that they would like to see. It gives them a little bit of some authority to spend some capital outlay dollars where they feel like they really would like to see. Of course, we have roof replacement rotation. We put about $180,000 of that into looking at roofs each year. Student devices, staff devices, our infrastructure, that's basically our technology budget, the $363,000. The flooring replacement rotation, of course, we're putting $100,000 into floors every year. Amazing, isn't it? And summer room painting rotation, it seems really small, but that's not paying, that's only for the paint. That has nothing to do with that. We pay the people to pay them out of our general fund. The people who actually paint. And then, of course, the superintendent's instructional equipment projects, no, I do not get $85,000 to use for me. That's just kind of in a way that's, we have that in terms of as we have some extras and things that maybe are not in our recurring, we can take those dollars and place on projects that are needed. Gives us a little authority to spend. The 5-year outlook is what we put together in terms of trying to just give you a 5-year vision. Now, the thing is, you'll notice that I called it an outlook. I did not call it a plan. There is no way that we can have a 5-year plan because there's just too much on this list, and it would never actually ever, we could not plan for anything because there's going to be a lot of revision to this. I think the thing is, if you just want to focus right now on column 1, these are projects that we have looked at and prioritized as projects that we feel like we would like to accomplish this summer. We've included in as well as that amount, and if I think the thing is, going back to that slide, I forgot, we have lease payments that come out of our capital outlay. And so we're going to spend, if you go to the next slide, $645,000 on lease payments this year, out of that approximately $3 million. And that's paying for the middle school, the 6th classroom edition and the 8th classroom edition that were done several years ago, as well as a payment for ECC, as well as a payment to Apple and Dell. Apple is for the iPads that were approved, and Dell is for the back-end infrastructure that we recently purchased for the district. So that's a payment that comes out of that available money. We're looking at Hayes High, and once again, these are not set in stone. These are just tentative. We're really going to try and we'd like to make an initiative to get cameras installed in all of our schools over the next 2 years and make it a priority. We do have cameras in all our schools, but they just need to be seriously updated. Technology has improved greatly, and it's just going to give us so much better access and clarity on what's going on, outside our buildings, inside our buildings. And so we really want to make a push to get that accomplished over the next 2 years. So we're looking at installing cameras at Hayes High. The fire alarm system at Hayes High needs to be replaced. This would allow us to get that done. We would like to resurface the tennis courts out at Hayes High. Last fall, we had over 40 girls out for tennis, which was phenomenal. It was one of the highest numbers ever in a long, long time. But the tennis surface out there really is in pretty shoddy shape. And maybe eventually we're going to look at doing some work on the other 4-court tennis surface. If you also remember, we've been putting a lot of dollars every year into the parking lot at Hayes High. We've been doing sections for the last 5-6 years. This gets us another chunk on that front side. I think it will complete the front side, which would be on the west side. And so, anyway, we'd like to continue to do that. Hayes Middle, we have some fire doors we need to replace, as we just had the state fire marshal make a visit last week, a couple weeks ago, I guess. And some of our fire doors are not up to code, and so we're going to need to replace those doors. Once again, we'd like to install some cameras at Hayes Middle. And the track out at Hayes Middle, behind the school, is in just total disrepair. It's just got deep crevices. It is a mess. They use it almost daily. Actually, we even had a student really
Ditches across
bung
the
himself up, fell in the
track.
hole. So we really need to do something there. So that's 150,000, I understand, but we really need to take care of that. Lincoln, this is just giving Lincoln some TLC. Like to get some tuck point to the upstairs in the music room. It's just some severe leaking. This is going to hopefully slow some of that leaking down, as well as put some screens that's on the south end that cover up some windows that we would like to get done. Of course, we're doing the secured entrance at Laughlin. We'd like to put in a bathroom. If you remember, we added some kindergarten classrooms last year. The Laughlin is the only elementary that does not have a bathroom in that new space, and so we'd like to add that. Of course, Roosevelt's doing the HVAC. I don't have those dollars listed because actually that payment will come out of the following year because that project will be completed in August, which will come in our new fiscal year. Wilson, once again, that I've thrown in there to look at our secured entrance for $500,000, as well as start a window replacement at Wilson. The windows at Wilson are in very dire need. They can't be opened, and they've been kind of just, I don't know, screwed down or whatever. But you can't even open windows at Wilson.
Or if you open them, you can't get them closed.
Yeah. So we've got to start that process. We'd like to designate $50,000 to get every year, and we'll start at Wilson and we'll just move as far as we can. And of course, ECC, we're in good shape at ECC. So that's the nice thing. The message I like to share there is when you do a big project, it takes care of capital outlay dollars that you see. We're not spending any dollars at capital. And of course, ECC does do some of the things on their own, but it is part of it's in a good situation right now at ECC. West Side, we'd like to replace some windows. Windows are long overdue, needing replaced there. It has to happen. West Side windows are so that would be on the, what is this, south? South, yeah.
Is this something that High Plains Mental Health Center helps you with?
What's that? I'm
Is that
sorry,
something
Laura.
that High Plains Mental Health Center helps you with?
None of the facility.
No.
That's the facility? Oh, okay. They just help you with the
They have staffing to, half of the program is theirs, but the facility is ours.
Got it. Okay.
Transportation building, of course, we just completed the roof, in our transportation in our shop area. But there is a space, a tunnel that was part of just, the old times where they underground. It's inside our bullpen parking, and as buses drive over this, although the engineer has looked at it and says, there's no danger, but it is something that you need to get taken care of. So what we're going to have to do is kind of dig it up, fill it with sand, and build it up, and then cover it back up, just so we're just being progressive in terms of taking care of an issue that we just don't want it to become an issue. Here at Rockwell, we got a boiler room, small little room that sets off, but we just do need to take care of the roof there. And also we want to start taking care of our gym. We've updated the floor. We redid the floor there this fall at Rockwell, which is really in good shape. But at the same time, we need to secure that floor by putting in some windows to secure that so we don't have water damage. So you can see that's about 1.9 million, okay, in capital outlay. As we look through, if you go back to that slide, I didn't highlight that, but in that annual recurring, the available, really after our recurring cost that we spend, we have about 1.7 million available to spend. Of course, you also have some reserve. You have, roughly, you started July 1 with about 2.7 million in capital outlay, which is in reserve. So, I mean, there's thoughts that we could take care of all these projects in that column by, we could either look at spending out of reserve. Also, if you just remember, we just sold Washington. We have 500,000, well, 495,000 that we could utilize some of that money to offset the difference. So we could take care of all of these needs. So that's basically column 1.
Hey, Ron, I have a question.
Yeah.
So Hayes High, the camera installation, we've already taken care of the infrastructure, I guess it's called, the wiring or the fiber optics.
At Hayes High, yes.
So now we just need to buy the new cameras that replace the old ones that
Yes.
are,
Yeah,
were-
it's
were
been,
new and
the wire was
exciting when we
pulled
bought 'em,
when
but now they're way old.
They did the phone system, so
so we plan to do that this summer?
yes,
Okay.
we'd like
Just wanna
to
make
finish that as well as do the middle school.
Very good, okay.
Ron, what about the Learning Center? That's just blank there. What's your?
Well, the learning center is at Hadley. There's nothing that's going to be needed there. As far as that building, the Hadley Center takes care of any kind of
Right, but
issues there.
I thought that was temporary. That's not, we're looking at
Well,
long-term.
as we move forward, I'll tell you what we have, okay? And once again, this document is not fixed, meaning this document can be maneuvered and manipulated, and we can move things around. Looking in 2021-22, we have, of course, we have some lease payments that we'll look at in terms of, we're going to add on the Roosevelt HVAC. And we also are going to have, we'll actually have the last payment for the middle school six classroom addition. Of course, we'd like to resurface the track out at Hayes High. We'd like to replace and repair the old tennis courts. This would be adding another 4-court section out at Hayes High. We'd also like to put in some volleyball competition nets in both gyms. Will just allow us to host events at $20,000. Once again, we got a parking lot repair of $120,000. This is just continuing that project. HVAC replacement, of course, I just threw that in there because I just wanted you guys to be aware, and I know you are aware. Hayes High is got some issues with their HVAC. And that's $4.5 million. We cannot. That's going to take something special to do that. But at least, just wanted to say it's a need that needs to be, taken a good hard look at how we can get that accomplished. Got a bathroom at what is that? Hayes Middle. In our sped room. We'd like to do that next year. And maybe if we have some flexibility, we find some more dollars, we might be able to get that taken care of. Of course, the next summer would be looking at installing cameras at all of our elementaries and updating all our cameras. Of course, and replacing some playground asphalt at Wilson, and a transportation and bus lift system. And if you look at the total there, that's $6.1 million, which is on our list.
So you're saying we're going to have $6.1 million?
No, we're not going to have it.
Oh, okay.
Just shy of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Assessed valuation is not going to go up that much.
No, I'm afraid.
2022 to 23, if you look at the next column, once again, we have lease payment there. We'll finally finish off the middle school. All your additions. The unfortunate thing that I would tell you there is you have added 14 classrooms to the middle school, and it's still probably about 4 short. You still don't have enough rooms at Hayes Middle. The building does not fit the clientele that we have there. So You know, we bus out peer tutors every hour at Hayes Middle to other schools, and part of that is just because we don't have space or classrooms to put kids. It just, I put the culinary classroom there. I've talked to you that, you know, the plan would be to look at, you know, updating this, moving the culinary classroom that here is at Rockwell, moving it out to Hayes High, and adding onto the Hayes High, which would give a nice culinary classroom, would not require helping hands to travel here and do all the things, and plus would probably increase some things that they could do out at Hayes High and lots of things. It's 1.4 million though. Very easily we could move that into this year. I mean, once again though, your price tag goes up, and then you have things that you know, you're going to have to probably take off the list and move to the right. The thing with the culinary classroom is, you know, and I mentioned this in the report, you know, the Learning Center is in Hadley. They just spent the Christmas vacation setting up that space. I really didn't, I kind of thought I need to give them some time, because they just went through a tremendous move. And to say, well, you're going to move again, you know, next, so I said I'll give them a year. So that's why that culinary classroom is moved out to there. We can definitely move that ever. Of course, parking lot repairs, you know, at the high school. Once again, I just talked about the classrooms and the cafeteria. It's going to be about 2.6 million to add on to Hayes Middle. Of course, we're continuing the window replacement. I just threw that in at Roosevelt. It could very well be another building. One of the things you're going to start to see on this list is plumbing repipe. We have a bunch of aging buildings, and we have a bunch of pipes that are in it's just time. I mean, they just have had a lot of wear and tear, a lot of things, and hard water and issues. And so, give you an example at Hayes Middle just this week, just last week. Had some sinks back up, but they've just basically got a pipe that has just failed. But to do that means they're going to have to rip out the lockers, knock a hole in the wall, and replace that section of pipe that is bad.
Right.
Now, the issue there is you replace that section of pipe, but you still have another 3 feet down. That pipe's not probably very, very far off from failing. So, I mean, you're going to a lot of work to do something that, you know, probably you may have to pull those lockers out and knock another hole at some point. So that's the issue. You'll see those plumbing repipes are thrown in, all the in the different areas. Of course, that can there's some you know, flexibility there. You'll also see the HVAC replacement at Wilson the following year. So we've looked at Roosevelt. This year we're estimating about 1.8 million, depending upon where bids. Hayes High is about 4.5 million, and Wilson we're just, you know, throwing a dart and saying it's probably going to cost us 1.8 million to do at Wilson, but it's definitely needed. Of course, we got some small items, washbot. One of the things I do want to draw attention to is here at Rockwell, auditorium renovation. And looking at finally at 2022-23, you know, this is probably should be this summer. We have some fine arts groups that do some tremendous projects and presentations. They're doing it in a less than ideal auditorium. At one point, it was probably a state of the art, something that would be envious of other districts, but at this point it is not. Yeah. And really for that auditorium to even be, you know, even just get up to minimum standards, and I'm saying minimum, it's probably 2.5 million. And I would say this, for a 5A district, it's not adequate. Not adequate at all. So, but that's on the list. Of course, if you get into 2023, we've got some lease payments, some iPads. I've got some, ventilation in a welding area out at Hayes High. Of course, we're throwing money into the parking lot again at Hayes High, plumbing repipe. The street to Rome Road, this is just thrown on the list. It would be great. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen, but it's out there, and we know. At O'Laughlin, if you've ever been on Hull Street and tried to drive down Hull Street at pickup or drop off, it's crazy. So if there's any way that we could put a street in that would connect that, we'd get some cars off of Hull Street. We've got a plumbing repipe, window replacement again, in our elementaries. If you go out to 2024-25, you'll see that we've got some leases once again, but you'll notice our lease payments are starting to drop, right? Okay, our lease payments are going down. That gives us more available capital outlay. We're about 200,000 more that we can spend. You'll see there turf field on Hayes High campus. There is a desire that at some point we could, put turf on our field out at Hayes High, and maybe at some point, play some Friday night games there. Doesn't necessarily mean we're saying that's going to happen. It's a desire. And I think first, before you ever you got to envision it. You got to be able to look at it and see it. To just put the turf on the field is $843,000. Now that's not putting in concession stands and of course we got some some sewer issues in terms of there is no plumbing in that area, so and I think it's the level. You're going to have a transfer station that's going to have to be put in. So there's some definite big time cost in doing that. But it is a desire to get our football field out at Hayes High, if that's ever possible, and as well as adding a softball field out at Hayes High. And we have some information, and that's going to cost about $726,000. Now, $726,000 does include some the field as well as some seating and things like that. So, parking lot repair, of course, and if you'll notice, we have the elevator that is at Lincoln. I think at some point we really have to, if Lincoln is. We're going to continue. We're going to have to really put a lot of dollars into Lincoln, and that's just going to help us meet the ADA requirements. I don't know exactly how that's worked out every year, but we have, we've been able to survive, but it really doesn't, in 2024, we really got to have a building that meets, American Disabilities Act. And of course, some plumbing repipe. So if you'll see, of course, some parking lots, some elevator here at Rockwell as well. So you can see on the bottom lines, we're 10 million 1 year, 4.3 million, 3.9 million, but you also realize that we'll have additional projects. Yeah. I think the point I also want to just drive home is that you can see we don't have enough capital outlay dollars to do all of this. I think the thing is that you have it, but this is really a vision of what our needs are in the district and where we need to look at how we can make things happen. So this. Like I said, these things can just constantly be moved, but you're just going to constantly be moving every year. You'll be having to make decisions about making, who gets what and how we're able to. And some of these projects we just probably are not going to be able to do without, in terms of some of these large projects, would not be able to do without some additional revenue. Either in terms of a bond issue or possibly, you're going to increase your lease payments. And like I said, they do go down as you go to the right to the subsequent years, but it's still some of those. I don't necessarily know if we want to get saturated in lease payments because it just what happens is, and this is what you start sucking all your capital outlay dollars
Paying off
to go that,
lease.
then you can't fix up the things you need to fix up because you don't have the adequate capital outlay to take care of those things.
Okay.
But this is the plan that we're kind of, would like to anticipate
An outlook, you
doing
mean?
this summer. If you're going back to that first column, 2020, 21, those are
Sure.
the projects we feel like we can for 1.9 million. And if you look at it, there's, you know, we're taking care of a lot of things.
Yeah.
With definitely things in the second column I'd like to add to that, but we got to be sensible about how we approach this. Chris, do you have anything that you want to add?
No. Just the conversation around leases, it sure helps as those lease payments go away to be able to take on some of those other projects. One thing I did forget to give you an update, the dollar amounts are right on the next 5 years right now of lease payments. The increase from next year is an estimate. I don't know, we're around 2,000 a year. Lease payments based on what we think the projects will bid out for, ballpark. So that's a bit of an estimate. One thing, we did get good news, and we dropped to, in FY '23, we dropped to 615 in lease payments, assuming that Roosevelt bid is our jobs around 200,000 a year. But the middle school will actually be paid off. We'll finish it off with the last payment from '22. There was a little bit of money left in the escrow account that ended up being enough, taken off enough interest over time that the HMS, rather than having a last partial payment in FY '23, will be paid off in '22.
Well, one thing that jumps out at me, Ron, is that the district is working as hard as possible to meet our facilities needs without a bond, without some other revenue. So I think people should be able to understand that we're doing everything we can, and to do some of these other things that we need to have, we're going to have to discuss.
Sure, and I think that's an important point to make, Mike, is that, yes, the district's done a good job of being good, stewards of their facilities and making wise decisions and not spending money foolishly. And the thing is, these projects, yeah, we can probably, pull it off. The thing is, if you truly look at the Hayes High HVAC replacement next year at $4.5 million, you could, take on another lease.
Yeah.
It just gonna suck,
Yeah.
like Chris saying, we're gonna add 200,000 to our lease payment with Roosevelt. You can anticipate 400,000. I don't know, probably more than that, 500,000 that you're gonna have to put on a lease payment for Hayes High. And then when you do that, you have less capital outlay to take care of other needed projects. You don't
everything
do
else
cameras,
suffers.
You don't do,
You don't
window
do the tennis
replacements.
court, You don't do the
Yeah.
parking lot, you stop on all of those things to simply pay off the lease.
And I think that's been said for years. I mean, it's not that we couldn't go through it. By the time you get finished, you're starting back over again
Yeah.
because it's so far out, it takes so long to do it with the capital that we have.
Right.
I mean, truly, if we wanted to make this realistic, this thing would be projected out to probably 2058 or something, I would imagine, to make it realistic in terms of the dollars. If we have approximately 1.7 million every year, and that stays consistent over the next 40 years, 30 years, you would, you could probably get these all taken care of. Now, the problem is, in that period, you got other bigger issues that have happened, so,
And you really don't know what's going to happen.
No.
And like Lance said, this is nothing new.
No.
I've heard-
absolutely not.
I've heard the deferred capital outlay list for the last 10,
Sure.
15, 20 years, and it's just continued to grow and grow. And we've done a good job of meeting the immediate needs, but we have not been able to move forward on the improvement of the facilities in the district. And so it's not a new thing for this year or last year. It's the same thing I heard 15 years ago.
Kudos to you and your team, though, for finally putting this type of stuff together, because, I mean, I think this is something that's been asked for a number of years as far as, and I realize it's a living, breathing document, it can change, but at least it's a game plan as far as where to start on something and start knocking some more of this stuff out.
Well, and this is what I plan, and what I said at the beginning is every January, we're gonna bring this list back to you. And as we, we'll mark through those things that we accomplished, and we'll move those things that didn't get accomplished, we'll move them one column over, and we'll slide everything over. And it's just, it's gonna, our like I said at the beginning, our short-term objective helps us make some decisions about where we wanna head as a district as far as capital outlay, our projects, and things that help us make some decisions.
Well, this is great too, because it does make the picture much more clear for us as board members. And now we actually can have a discussion about what we would like to see. These are recommended ideas, so
Well, yes, they're definitely,
Except for
everything
lease
on
payments,
this
of course.
list are things are more than
payments.
20,000, so
Yeah.
you would be approving everything on this list.
Right.
But these, just so you have an idea of these are the things that we would like to, secure bids on, and bring to the board, to take care of all these projects this summer.
And I think it's great we're going down this road. I mean, I think you have to do this, especially without having a bond on the table. The drawback to this is you're also going to play the game of putting fires out. So if something crops up, we're going to have to reallocate that money to put fires out, and this stuff just continues to get pushed down the line.
And this is really keeping within the infrastructure.
Sure.
Other than the cafeteria and culinary, moving a program, it's still not, giving you appropriate classroom space or like you just said.
A lot of it's still
a gym
deferred
to
maintenance.
be able to, do different things, but
That was my next question. This is a good snapshot of what we need to do to
Right.
keep going.
Right.
Yes.
But is there another list of things that are not on this list that we need to also,
Well, I would tell you,
just like Shannon said, classroom space, all of this?
the one thing I would tell you is, and this is always, difficult sometimes because you're always cautious about when I say this, but your newest building in the district, I guess with the exception of ECC, but the newest building is a 40-year-old building. I believe Hayes High is like right around 1980. So that your newest building is 40 years young. And so you do not have, you have some facilities that, and our oldest building, of course, is Lincoln, which is at like 95 years. So a range from 40 years to 95. The thing is, that's where you're going to have to really start understanding is that at some point, and this is, you have a lot of buildings, around the same age in the facilities, and things just start to fail all at the same time. So at some point, I think we're going to have to build a new facility at some point. Not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying at some point
we're gonna.
it is going to have to happen, because if you don't do that, eventually, and let's just say you go 30 years, you're going to have a bunch of buildings that are all the exact same age that are really at a very serious point. I mean, there is a lifespan to a building. And
well, and that can't be done under capital outlay
No.
projects. I mean, that's what we're talking about.
Right.
We just talked about additional revenue to just do those projects, much less anything beyond that. So that's probably another conversation, that this, looking at just capital
Well, this is-
outlay projects.
Actually, from my perspective, this is a starting point for us to understand what the needs are now, beyond another school, of course.
Yeah.
But that gives the board an idea of where we are, so we can have more discussions about the future of the district. Do we want to eventually work down a path that we build a new middle school or something, and shift students around, something of that nature? But that would be a bond issue. Yeah.
But tonight's objective, was just to give you an idea of what our short-term, long-term, capital projects are. just tell, I wanted to run by the board, just these are the decisions that we have looked at in terms of projects that we'd like to take care of, and the priorities that we've, and everything on this list is in some regards a priority. Some are immediate, some are upcoming, and some are in our future. But we just want to give that information to the board, that what we're considering.
Sure.
Yeah,
And
for
the
projects.
2021 projects, we discussed most of those over the past year or so. I don't know if we've talked about the tennis courts yet, and maybe the resurfacing the track, is that on there? Anyway, I think these aren't very surprising to us.
Yeah.
We're going to have to find a way to, we need to help decide which one we're going to do, which ones we're going to do, because we have 1.7 million and we got 1.9 million that we want
Yeah.
to spend. Yeah.
But, and that's what I'm saying, we'll
Yeah.
have to we have some flexibility there as well, that we could possibly take care of all these, this
That'd be
summer.
great, if we could. Yep. So from my perspective, I think, well, and we'll discuss this, but I think 2021 looks good. And then the rest are also good, but those are more, what I would call requests or sort of plans in a way, or strategies to do things. So that's where we need to start talking about a bond issue and things like that.
That's what I was going to say. We need to keep this discussion going.
Yeah.
And not put it on the back table. We look at what we're going to do on this current year, and then keep that discussion going on work sessions, and so we're not just coming back to it.
Sure. Interesting, Craig. I started thinking, I went back to a year ago, because actually DLR, who our district has, we're under contract with DLR. If you remember, we were at Roosevelt, they came, they did a presentation, basically talked about that they felt like it might be in our best interest to look at, surveying the district, not necessarily about would you support a bond? This is just, I think the first step is, and I have been through, not as a superintendent, but I've been through bond issues as a principal, and the one thing I would tell you that is highly important is that the patrons in your community feel very strongly about your district and what you're doing, that you're doing good things. Right. And so that's usually the first step, is just getting some feedback from your patrons in terms of trying to get a feel for what they're feeling. It could be about a lot of things. We'll talk about facilities, could talk about things that we're doing in academics, those kinds of things. Get some feedback, and then that can help you make decisions, if going forward. That's usually the first step. Interesting, I was thinking, they were here, well, it was March 9th, I think, that they were here on a Monday night. And March 13th, everything broke loose, and our world changed on us on March 13th. So things just kind of stalled out at that time. We didn't really revisit it. I did have some conversations with them, and I told them, at this point, I just feel like, we're just trying, and they completely understood. So, there's some thought that we could have to, revisit with DLR and see, but, that might be to just keep things moving.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, very good. I think my brain is kind of fried, so anybody else have any comments or questions for Ron?
Good discussion items.
Yeah, I just think this was put together very well, and I thank you for bringing this to us. And I just...
Very good. Okay, I think we're moving on to the next item, which is future agenda item requests, if there are any. So I put that on there a couple hours ago. So if the board members want to shoot some issues my way, and Ron and I will talk about them.
Ron, we're moving into January, February. We'll be looking at central administration contracts, building administrator contracts here coming up. I'd like a discussion on the 2-year contracts for administrators in the school district.
Okay. Can do that.
Okay. Anything else, guys? And of course, you know my email address, so you can shoot me some information later. I am ready to go. Anybody have any other comments or questions for tonight? Okay. I move to close this this board meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I'm not going to even ask for a vote, so we're done.